This is my sketch illustration of Rumi from the K-pop Demon Hunters, and today I'm going to show you all the steps that I used in drawing this character. Let's grab a pencil and a sketch pad and let's get started. Welcome back everyone, and thanks for joining me today. For today's lesson, I'm going to start off with this 0.7mm mechanical pencil with a 2B graphite stick. Now if you don't have a mechanical pencil, anything you have around the house will work just fine. I'll be drawing on top of this sketch pad that measures 11 inches across and then 14 inches from top to bottom. Let's start off by setting up a drawing with a series of guidelines. We'll start at the very top of our page, right in the center. Let's sketch a line coming down, just using these short lines. Just going to pull this all the way down towards the bottom of our page. Now, let's move back up to the top. Let's draw another line going across from left to right. And I'm going to be using these lines to help us create a circle in the center of our page to define the size of the head. Now, from that center point, let's move up to right about here. It's going to mark off the top of our circle. And I want to measure this distance from the center down towards the bottom. So right here, we're going to mark this off again. And we're going to do the same thing across this horizontal line. So measuring the distance from the center over towards the left and then the right side. Now I want to connect the center point of each mark with a curve to create this circle. So let's start with the top left. Just going to work our way around. Now this circle doesn't have to be perfect. We're just using this as a guide. We can always go back and just smooth this out as best we can. Now with our circle in place, let's add another set of guidelines along the side. We're just going to stretch this all the way down towards the bottom. And we want to make sure that the distance that we have from the center towards the left side of our circle is the same across the bottom and the right side. Just go back and just readjust this. Now I want to add one more line. We're going to start along the bottom of our circle, going across from left to right. Now with our circle and guidelines in place, I'm going to start blocking the facial features. Let's start by locating the eyes. We're going to go halfway between the center line and the bottom. So right here, just going to mark this off. Let's stretch this line across towards the left and right side. And it doesn't matter if you go past the outside, because again, we're just trying to stay loose. Now let's add that gap in between the eyes. So from that center point, let's move over towards the left side. So right about here, draw this all the way down and then up. Let's measure that same distance over towards the right and do the same thing. Now I'm going to start blocking out the shape of the eyes. Now this point right here is the corner of the eye. So we're going to go up and then out towards the top. Now let's angle the top of the eyelid. We're going to angle this up and then out towards the outside of our circle. And again, we're just going to stretch this out across the side. From the outside of our circle, we're going to step in, curve the eye, coming down and then in towards that bottom line. Let's tuck the iris and pupil underneath the eyelid. So we're going to start from this corner right here, draw a half circle. We're going to come down, and we want to leave a small gap across the bottom, and then just pull that up on the outside. Let's do the same thing on the right. And we can always come back and readjust the placement later. And we don't want the eyes to be too close together or too far apart. Let's go all the way down towards the bottom of our circle. We're just going to block out the nose, come down and out like a triangle, and then close this off. From the bottom edge of the nose, let's step down and draw the mouth. We're going to start with a straight line going all the way across from left to right. And this mouth line is going to help us align the jaw. Let's open up the mouth. So these two lines coming down and in towards the center. Let's move down, mark off the lower lip. Step down again to right about here. It's going to mark off the chin. Let's go back up to the side of our circle. We're going to curve the jawline coming down towards that mouth line. So let's start on the left. Come around the eye. I'm going to bend that in to right about there. Do the same thing on the right. Coming down and then in. Again, this is just a rough sketch. We can always come back and readjust the shape later. Now I'm going to pull this down and then in towards the chin. Let's go to the top half of our circle. We're just going to split this in half. The little line in the center. Now from the center point, we're going to curve the hairline going across and then down toward the left and right side. And just pull this out a little bit further. Let's block in the eyebrows. From this point, we step up, angle the eyebrow just up above the eyes, going out towards the side. Pull that in a little bit closer on the inside. I just want to flatten this off. The line going up. Let's follow that line going all the way out along the top of the eyebrow. Angle this down towards the ends. Now let's draw in the ears. We're going to follow this eye line towards the side of the head, Just angle this up and then out on both sides. Come straight down. And then we'll angle the ears back in towards the jaw. Let's go back up to the top and block out those braids. We're going to start right at the very top in the center. Curve this up. Come around and then in towards the bottom. Do the same thing on the right. Now it's going to dip this down just across the hairline and just pull that back up. Let's add a larger braid on the left side, going all the way around and then down in the middle. Do the same thing on the right. Now we're going to add one larger one, just stepping back in behind the head, going up and then down and then back around. Let's add a little bit more volume to the top of the head. From this curve along the side, it's going to bend this out and then down, round out the head, and then just pull that back in towards the side. So a little bit of a point along the top corners. Now in between the jaw and the chin, we'll draw two lines coming down the side of the neck. Right about there. Let's go to the left side. We're going to slope the shoulders. Bend this down and then out. Now this braid is going to come across towards the left side. So let's start underneath the ear, bend this around, and then in towards the side of the neck. Step out and draw another curve. Now I'm going to add a little bit of detail across the collar. From the base of the neck, curve this in and then down toward the center on both sides. I'm going to offset the collar. Let's start halfway along this line, curve this up and then down, bend this in and then up towards the side of the neck. Now I'm going to go over towards the right side. We're going to curl this up and hook that down, bend this up and then in. Now with our rough sketch in place, I'm going to go back and clean this up by erasing some of these guidelines. Now once we clean up our drawing, I'm going to go back and use this rough sketch as a guide to help us layer on some more details and refine the shapes. Now let's start with the left eye. Starting from the very top, we're going to add some thick and thin lines. So from the top, I want to make this a little bit thicker and then taper that down towards that inside point. You want to do the same thing on the right side. Just pulling this down. Let's add some more shape to the upper eyelid. So we're going to start by curving this up, then out. Now the eyelash, we're going to curl this down and then up towards the outside. Let's add some thickness. So from the outside, we're going to taper this in, come across the top of the eye and taper that down. Now let's fill the inside of the eyelash going across. Let's do the same thing on the right. Tapering this out, go thicker across the edge, out toward point, and we'll fill that in. Now you can add a little bit of texture and softness along the outside edge of the eyelash, just pulling this up and then out. And just fading that out towards the ends. You just want to soften up the edge. Now let's add some darkness, starting thicker along the top and then fading that down. Now I want to add a little bit more shape to the bottom of the eyelid. So I'm just going to curve this around, pull this in. Now as you come in, I'm just going to bend this down towards the tear duct. Now we're just going to darken up the outside edge of the iris, making sure that they're aligned. And again, they're not too close together or too far apart. Now in the center, we're just going to lightly trace the iris for the pupil. Just like a little half circle. Over on the left side, right where the iris and pupil meet, draw a small circle for a highlight. Now let's darken up the edge of the pupil going in behind that highlight. Just going to round that out. Darken up the center of the pupil. Go back and just darken up the edge of the iris. And now I'm going to move to the side edge of my pencil and just darken up the top of the iris and then fade that down to create a little bit of a glare. And again, we want to go in behind that highlight. Now with the eyes in place, we're going to go and add some more shape to the eyebrows. So just darken up the outside edge. Just going to round out the bottom, going out and then up. And just curl this across towards the ends. Now I want to add a medium tone to the inside of the eyebrows. And we're just going to angle these lines going up and then out. Just working our way across, not going too dark. This will be the base of the eyebrows. Going the opposite direction on the right side. And we can move to the side edge of our pencil and just fill that in. And then from the inside corner of the eyebrows, I'm just going to draw a little line, just fading this in and then down, just along the outside of the nose bridge. Just to find the edge, coming in and then down. Now I want to add some shape to the nose, so start in the center with a little curve. Add in the nostrils, going up and then down. And I'm just going to add a little bit of shadow inside the nostrils. Let's work our way around the outside. And then bend that in. Now I'm going to go back in and just clean up the inside of the nose. Let's continue down towards the mouth. We're going to start along the top edge. And we're just going to curl the ends going up towards the corner of the mouth. Now I want to darken up the corners a little bit, just going a little bit thicker with that line. I'm just going to pull this up a little bit higher on the left, just so it's not so symmetrical. Let's add the upper lip. So we're just going to lightly go across the top, bend this down and then out towards the left, and then the right side. Let's open up the mouth from the corners, bend this in and then down, and round out the bottom. I'm just going to lightly separate the teeth with a little line going across the middle on both sides. And it'll block in that lower lip. I can see that I marked it down here. I'm just going to raise this up a little bit higher, which means we're going to have to lift up the chin. I'm going to do a light cleanup, just so we can get a better look at the mouth. Then again, just moving to the side edge of our pencil, we're just going to lightly shade the upper lip. And I want to go a little bit darker with the lower lip, starting off dark along the sides, and then fading that in. Also darken up the top of the lower lip, and then fading that down. Now before we get into the rest of the head, I'm just going to do a light cleanup all the way around. Let's move to the side of the head and add a little bit more shape to the sides. Just going to round this out. Again, going a little bit thicker along the top with that thicker line, and this will help give our drawing a little bit more weight. I'm just going to round out the jaw and pull that in towards the chin. Now it's always good to take a step back and take a look at your overall composition before you continue. Just make sure that everything is aligned. Now we're going to round out the chin. Raise this up a little bit higher. Rounding this out. And go back into a light cleanup. Let's continue up along the side of the head. Now I'm going to work our way across the top. I want to add these little curves, just pulling these in, because we're pulling the hair up and then out. Tuck this up underneath. Now start with that center braid. This down in the center and just pull this up along the side. Now along the bottom, I want to add a little bit of texture. So on the left side, I'm just going to pull these little lines going up and then out. Now as we come across towards the right, we're going to straighten these out, going up the middle, going out and then up towards the right side. So you want to add that texture across the bottom and the top of each shape. This is going to help us create a little bit of a highlight in the center. Go up to the top. I'm going to add a little fold coming down. Now from the top, I'm going to add that texture coming down. You see that I'm just bending this out towards the left, on the left side, straight down the middle, and bend this out towards the right, on the right side. Now this is just the base of the texture. I'm going to come back and add some more later. Let's add that top second braid. Going up and then out. Just working our way around the shape. Now from the bottom, again, just adding that texture. Now we're going to go back to the edge of the hairline. We're going to add these little shapes. So right here at this point, draw a longer line and add some texture across the base. Just pulling this up and then out. A little bit longer up here. Now from the top, just going to round this out. Coming around and then down along the outside. Let's add another shape. We're going to step down. Again, just pulling this around and up. And then adding that texture across the bottom. Let's add some texture from the top coming down. Go back and add that final bun on the top. And I'm going to go to the side and add some more shape to the ears. Just working within that bounding area. Just going to take out that sharp point along the top. And just lightly tracing the ear, coming down towards the earlobe. Let's add a fold across the top of the ear. And then that bump along the inside. Now I'm going to add some simple earrings along the outside of the ear, on the top left. I'm going to go back in and just darken up the contrast. You can see that I just simplified the earrings, not getting too detailed with it. And then adding some shape to the side of the neck. It's going to give it a little bit of a curve, coming down towards the collar. I'm going to go back and do a little quick cleanup. And we'll finish off that side braid. Now right at this point, I'm just going to curl the braid coming in and then up. Just bringing that up towards the inside. Continue down towards the bottom. Now the texture along this top section here, from this point, we're just going to pull this up and then across. And then from the top, work our way down. Again, we're just creating that highlight in the center of that braid. And now we can go a little bit darker along the inside. This is where the shadow is going to be cast. Now for the shadows, I'm going to start with the outside edge. So a little hard line from the brow coming around, and then from the inside, bend this in and then down. And then along this inside area, I'm just going to lightly shade that in using these angled lines. So we have this hard defined edge of shadow. Let's go over towards the right side and do the same thing. I also want to shade in the inside area of the ears. From the nose, I'm going to cast a shadow coming down and up, and then lightly shade the inside. Now I want to switch to the side edge of my 2mm pencil and add some more texture and volume to the hair. So along this hairline, I'm just going to use the side edge and just enhance that shadow and texture. Now just working our way across towards the right. You can see that's adding a little bit more depth to our shadows and texture of the hair. Now right here we can go a little bit darker because I'm positioning the light on the top left going across. So the shadows will sit on the opposite side, which will be the right. And we can also do the same from top to bottom. Now the head's going to cast a shadow across the neck, so we're going to start right where the neck meets the chin, come down at an angle, round this out and go out in behind the shirt, and then we'll lightly shade the inside. Now along the side of the face, we're going to add a little bit of a shadow line, almost like a reflection, the corners of the eye coming around. Now from the inside, just going to shade that in and then fade that as you come in towards the face. Just lightly shading that in. And this will help give some shape to the face. Also add a little bit across the chin. Now, as we get closer to the end, we're just going to tighten up our shadows and details, and always be sure to sign our artwork, and that's pretty much it. There's a sketch illustration of RUMI from the K-pop Demon Hunters. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. If you did, you might want to check out this video over here. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.